Hey, what's up everybody? In this video, I'll share how I found a radiator leak on my TSX and why it leaked. I noticed that my car had a rough idle, so it vibrated when I was at a stop. Here is my radiator, and there is a tube that connects to the reserve tank. The reserve tank is how you check your coolant level on the TSX. The fluid level needs to be between the minimum and the maximum lines when the engine is cool. I checked the coolant reserve tank and it was empty, so I refilled it. But a few days later, I noticed the same thing. It's not normal to have to refill your coolant every week. When I looked under the car, I noticed dry coolant underneath the car. Now I just needed to find out where it was coming from. I rented this pressure tester from Pep Boys. They charge your credit card and then return your money when you return the tool. AutoZone and some of the others do the same thing too. It's basically a radiator cap with a tube that connects to a gauge and a pump. And it also comes with a few adapters for different types of radiators. So it has a gauge here where you can see how much pressure you're applying into the system, and this is the cap that seals the radiator. The cap of the pressure tester has two positions. When the lever handle is aligned with the wedge, it is in the open position. When the lever handle is on the flat lower part, it's in the closed position, and the rubber stop seals the pressure in the radiator. Before I connect the pressure tester, I'm using the adapter for my car. This adapter has a really tight fit that requires effort to get in. You'll need to set this to the open position to connect it to the radiator. Radiators can have different maximum PSI pressure. On the TSX, the max pressure is 16 PSI. Now you can seal the radiator by setting the cap to the closed position. Okay. I'm going to pump air into the radiator and make sure that the pressure does not exceed 16 PSI. At 5 PSI, the radiator is doing good. At 14 PSI, boom. You can see the pressure drop on the gauge, confirming the leak.
There it is. It's taking a piss.
It's coming from the seal at the bottom where the plastic cover meets the metal core of the radiator. I bought myself a new radiator. It was a Denso radiator on Amazon for half the price of what AutoZone wanted to charge me. Here is the new radiator installed, and it's holding about 13-14 PSIs without a problem. I know that this one isn't leaking. So why did my radiator leak? The original radiator on my TSX lasted 14 years. I'm going to assume that the seals got old and they couldn't seal in the pressure anymore. But I also damaged a new radiator. So after I installed the new radiator, I did not bleed the air from the cooling system, and while doing Uber X for 5 hours, it busted a seal and started leaking. That was a hard lesson learned. It's very important to bleed the air from the cooling system anytime you allow air in the cooling system. This includes when you replace the water pump, when you replace the radiator hose, when you replace the thermostat, when you replace the radiator, when you replace the coolant temperature sensor, and of course when you service your radiator by draining the coolant and refilling it. If you never drive on the freeway or you never drive your car hard, you may be able to get away with not bleeding the cooling system, but why would you take that risk? If you don't bleed the air from the cooling system, you may also run into other issues such as engine overheating, no hot air from the heater, or the sound of water sloshing around behind the dash. I'll make a separate video on how I bleed the air from the cooling system on the TSX. If this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section. Check the video description for more information, and I'll see you in the next one.